Veronica, you've worked under three different administrations, so you've seen from the inside what the immigration system looks like. What's the difference that you've seen as a prosecutor, a former ICE prosecutor under the Trump administration versus under some of the Democratic presidential administrations that you've worked under?
Yeah, and that's a great question.
True. I do this for the poor. I do this for the less fortunate. Justice now when I need them beaten. 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 Mr. Justice now when I need them beaten.
Welcome back to the History Shovel channel. Guys, if you're undocumented, if you have a green card, or you're just waiting on a green card, if you're overstaying, you came through the border seeking asylum, any one of the above, then you need to pay close attention to this video. Bookmark this video, send it to a friend, families. Because if you come here illegally, you can't marry. You can't marry someone here no more for no green card. No, that person who you marry, they gotta go back home and wait for it. And now they're laying off thousands of embassy workers globally. So who gonna do the work? So you know there's already a huge backlog. So when you cut the workforce, who's gonna do that job? But what they tell you? Yeah, let the backup stack up. Meaning, in short, we don't want y'all here. Stay where you at. Read the signs. Read the signs. Some who are seeking asylum, those rights are being confiscated now. And the rule of asylum is, once you make it on the USA soil, you fit the required criteria for asylum, and you apply and go through the designated protocols, yeah, you might get through. But if you come here and you overstay, one time you could come, overstay, married, get your visa. Once you apply and your sponsors who are giving you affidavit of support, once they meet that threshold, then you're lucky. Now you can't do that. You gotta go back home and wait till them docs come through. And from where I'm sitting, they never look like they won't come through. So please watch and listen to this prosecutor who's telling us what's really going on in the underbelly of the immigration stomach.
Veronica, you've worked under three different administrations, so you've seen from the inside what the immigration system looks like. What's the difference that you've seen as a prosecutor, a former ICE prosecutor under the Trump administration versus under some of the Democratic presidential administrations that you've worked under?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I think what some people take for granted is, oh, there's these criminals, oh, there's these child users, oh, there's these sex traffickers, we have to get them now. And that has always been a constant in immigration. There's always been a priority for people who have violated criminal laws, who are dangers to the public. That has always been a constant, no matter if it was Obama, Biden. You know, Obama at one point had the name deporter-in-chief because he had removed the most criminal non-citizens. So what's different about this environment is that there's a one-size-fits-all type of immigration. Trump is using a cannon to...
You heard she's saying Trump is using a cannon to unalive a mouse, meaning he's using a one-size-fits-all. Though they said they would only deport undocumented people who had criminal charges against them, but no, that's not it. Once they cast that net, once they cast that die and it is set, if your papers look any form of shaky, meaning if you have a green card and you did something back in the day, misdemeanor if you will, they don't wait. They might get you here, but more so when you leave the country and you're coming back. And when they scan you, they pull up everything that you have. If you're in the system, it's going to come up. And once they see anything, you're going back home. So that's part of the way that they're trimming the fat. You know, people have been here for years working. It don't matter. It don't matter. You know what I mean? So the people were lied to, you know. Some part of it is good because, I mean, you got to get rid of the bad eggs out the country who don't come here to work, who want to start gangs and do all kind of stuff. No, they need to go. But, oh my God, the people who want to work, who have families. Do you know how hard it is when somebody's separated from their family? when you're home and they expect you to come home, you cook for them, you leave a warm meal, and then to know that person is never coming home to that home again. They're in some ICE detention center on a cold, hard floor. Maybe they might even get tossed in with the villainous ones and end up in Guantanamo Bay. I mean, it's rough, but let's continue. Hey, before we continue, man, I just want to send a shout out to Miss Ariva Martin. She has been doing extensive work with regards to immigration and undocumented and anything in special reporting. Ariva, that's A-R-E-V-A Martin. And she's speaking to ICE ex-prosecutor, Miss Veronica Cardenas Esquire. She's a former ICE prosecutor who was turned immigration attorney. So if you want to know more, if you're in a situation, you can go definitely check them out, maybe hire their services, and hope everything work out, because we are all in the same boat. If you hear my voice sounding cracky, it's because I ain't got nothing to be happy about since, last 2 months.
If you will. He is using the same force of laws to go after dangerous people, and he's using that against children. He's using that against families. People have been in the U.S. for more than 10 years. I've seen so many people come to my office and say, I came into the United States in the 80s. I came in the 90s. I have just been working. My whole life is here. Am I safe? And that is the difference we're seeing now, that to this administration, just by being here, that is a crime that's going to have severe penalties.
Well, help us understand what the community of folks that you serve, how are they feeling in this moment when they hear about these raids that have taken place in places like Chicago, and now this planned raid by ICE on the Los Angeles community?
I think that what this administration is doing is creating a lot of fear so that people, non-citizens, whatever their status is, they throw their hands up and they say it's better to just go home. We see the reports on their Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter of non-citizens in handcuffs. And a lot of them are people who just overstayed their visas, people who are trying to work. And so when we hear these raids happening, people are afraid of being detained. Detention centers are not pleasant situations. People are placed into solitary confinement. They don't have enough to eat. The conditions are very cold. It's even difficult for them to seek medical attention. And so publicizing those difficulties, a lot of people are in fear that if they are arrested, how long will they be detained? Can they be released? Can they proceed with a immigration court proceeding outside of the detention center? And so a lot of the people that are coming into my office that, and when I do, talks at community centers, churches, they're all scared. Am I someone who the government is looking for? And that is a very difficult question to answer right now, because Trump and the administration has said they are focusing on criminal non-citizens. They are focusing on people who have an order of deportation already and they've overstayed that. But what they're showing, what we're seeing on the ground, is a different story, especially because memos like the sensitive location memo was rescinded, where people were not, officers were not allowed to go into schools or churches or hospitals, because there was this understanding that people in our communities need a place to worship, right? They should have that right. They need the ability to seek medical assistance if they're sick. They need to know that they can call 911 or report a crime if something happens against them. And all of those things have been taken away. So this administration has just been instilling a lot of fear, and that's what I am seeing with our clients.
So, Veronica, what legal rights does someone have that doesn't fall into one of those categories? Like, I have not committed a crime. The person is not a criminal. They don't have an order of deportation, but yet they get swept up in one of these raids. I have a friend who runs a nonprofit, and she said she did a YouTube video, and I talked to other friends about this situation where someone has a prior criminal record, and they were lured out of their home and then arrested, detained. So if you're not someone who has, an active felony or warrant against you, do you have any legal rights?
Yeah, and so that is common. So people, non-citizens, even if they committed a crime, everyone still has the same right. Number one, immigration cannot just go into your home without a judicial warrant. More than 90% of the cases, I would say, immigration does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge. So they're relying on two things. They're relying on the person to give them consent to open the door and say, yes, please come in. And they can get that consent by lying to people. And I don't think people understand that. They can say, hey, there's a package for you waiting outside. Can you open the door? Or, hey, I saw someone just hit your car. Is it your car? You should come out. Or we're investigating a crime. Can you, we just want some details. And so that's how they lure people to open the door. And then once the door's open, now you cross that threshold. They can either come inside, even though you don't specifically say it, or they arrest you once you cross the threshold of the door. And so knowing that if someone knocks on the door and you're not expecting anybody, do not answer. I'm telling my clients, pretend you're not even home, because once you start engaging, that's a slippery slope and we don't know where it's going to end. If they have a judicial warrant, they're going to come in anyway. Whether you open the door or not, they're already allowed to do that. So there's no need to engage. When you're out in the public, your rights are a little different there because you can be approached, but immigration needs to have reasonable suspicion to actually stop you, suspicion that you're violating an immigration law. And so they can't determine that based on the way you look, because you're speaking a different language. And so just understanding that in these times, remaining silent is your best friend.
A lot of undocumented workers are trying their best to demonstrate that they should be allowed to stay in this country. They pay taxes, they volunteer when there's a disaster like the fires. Is there a legal process that exists today that would allow someone who either came here illegally to become legal, or if someone came here legally and overstayed their visa and now they're technically illegal, is there any process to change their status from illegal to legal?
So that is a really great point, and I think that's one of the misconceptions. A lot of people say, right, the argument against this is, you wait online. I did things the right way. But for many people who are here, who want to come here seeking asylum, there really is no quote unquote line or right way to do things. The immigration system has been built on 1800, 1900 type of thinking, and it's designed to exclude, not include. And so unless someone already has an immediate family member here, like a parent, a spouse, and sometimes children I'm going to put aside for now, because there's this argument that, people come here to just have children and then they use their children to get status. That's not exactly true. Parents who have crossed through the border without a visa are actually not eligible to become a lawful permanent resident based on their children, even if they're U.S. citizens. And they definitely are not able to do that when their children are minors. So the whole family is vulnerable to a deportation order at that point. And so the options for going through a legal process, it is very limited. There's humanitarian purposes, which includes asylum, which Trump has really stripped down to like razor thin bones. And then there's family-based, where you have to have a qualifying relative.
Let me ask you this, Veronica. If you come here without legal status and you have a family member here, is there any way that that family member can, quote unquote, vouch for you to help you get legal status?
It's essentially boiled down to just having a spouse. If you come here and you have someone who you're married to or a parent, they can do that process for you, but you do have to leave the United States, because you can't do that process within the United States if you entered without a visa.
So if you came here without a visa and you meet someone and you're going to marry that person, that you have to go back to your country of origin to get work on coming legally with a visa to marry your spouse or your future spouse.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to clear that up, because I think, as you said, a lot of people believe that there is some legal process by which someone who came here without a visa can then get a visa once they're here. or that if you've overstayed your visa, that somehow you can overcome that. And you're saying there are very limited circumstances in which that would even happen.
Right. And I think another misconception, a big one, is that seeking asylum is not a lawful pathway. And that is just not true, because the only way to seek asylum is if you make it to the U.S., if you step foot on U.S. soil. That is the only way to request asylum. There's no other way to do it. And so there is a process for that. And that has been really, a lot of the rights and the procedures for that have been taken away.
I just want to say thanks to Miss Ariva Martin, man. Look at the screen. That's her, you know. You can contact her, special report. And, you know, she's been doing a wonderful job. Well, she's also beautiful, but don't tell her I tell you, okay? All right, man. Hope you enjoyed it, man. And look out for more videos coming soon. Just make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment as we strive to grow this community and help to get the word out there.
Sanjusk, true. Cause I do this for the poor, I do this for the less fortunate. Justice now when I need them beaten. 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 Mr. Justice now when I need them beaten. Hope on them, that's how them greeted. Father time still undefeated. Wrong, while them get posturepedic. Rank like donkey people. Vibration, me not really feel it. Corrupted lace, me not afraid for peel it. Question, who gonna feed the needy? While them sell a thief when I really need it. Why the needs of the chief and the greedy. Leaders I meet, I forget for feed with. Rat them, really love the cheese and season. Tan bad till them end up badly beaten. Rascal act ungodly treason. Rich say a thief and without a reason. Explanation, it a worth believing. Treacherous lies bring forth deceiving. Funds off a run, one seat this evening. At the 4th grip, I got season greeted. Justice now when I need them beaten. Justice now when I need them beaten. Justice now when I need them beaten. Mr. Justice now when I need them beaten. 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 Mr. Justice now when I need them beaten. You ain't working for me anywhere. You're working for the system. Vote for guns and bombs and hand grenade. Guess who turn out the victim? Whole city now lacking self-esteem. New level bullshit. Go fight the pace or come back in.